Outside of quarterbacks, is there anything interesting you're watching this NFL offseason?
Definitely Mike Evans. I think Mike Evans is going to be an interesting guy to keep your eye on. You know, we were talking, with the Chiefs potentially winning a third Super Bowl in a row, who they're going to have at their hands to, help Mahomes and Andy Reid, especially with a lot of guys hitting free agency, a lot of guys asking for more money, defense and offensive side of the ball. I think Mike Evans could be one of those guys that is brought into Kansas City to really help with that the offensive struggles that Kansas City had early in the season. Um, we all know Rashid Rice is going to be there on that roster, but other than Rashid Rice, who else do the Chiefs have? I know Kadarius Toney had a couple, mishaps. I doubt that he's going to be back. So they really need to add to that wide receiver room. And Mike Evans, I think, would be a great fit. And, he's definitely an older player. Um, been in the league for almost over a decade at least. But he's put up consecutive numbers. Like over 1,000 yard receiving games, 1,000 yard receiving seasons. You know, those are things that, when we were talking about even before with players that despite, growing older, they continue to produce. Mike Evans is one of those guys. I don't know if Tampa Bay is going to be willing to throw more money at him, especially with them trying to kind of build potentially, I think, around Baker Mayfield. That's what I think they're going to be doing. Um, Mike
Sure.
Evans, I know he loves Tampa Bay. I know he enjoys that area. That might be something that he's thinking about in terms of maybe taking a lower pay to stay in the Tampa area. But I could absolutely see him going to Kansas City. Another team I would like to bring up too that he could potentially go to is the Houston Texans. And that would obviously be no good for the Titans, but that could be a realistic landing point in terms of Mike Evans wanting to chase, another potential Super Bowl title with a different team before his career's ended. And if anything speaks to his past, receiving capabilities these past number of seasons, he's on par for another 1,000 yard season. So a receiver like that would make any receiving room great, especially with young talent like CJ Stroud and some of those other younger guys around him. They could bring him into Houston as well. But he could also go to the Chiefs. There's a lot of different options out there, but definitely something to keep your eyes on.
Yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head when you said the Chiefs, because I mean, I think Mike Evans at this point in his career really wants a Super Bowl, and the Chiefs are the team to do it, as they've proven the last 2 years. And they have a really big need at wide receiver. So it's kind of like a match made in heaven between those two teams. Also, we were talking about Mike Evans and his age. I feel like a lot of players, when they hit their 30s, they start to slow down a little bit. They start to get worse.
Yep.
Mike Evans has not done that. He is still
Mm-mm.
playing like he is in his prime right now. There has been zero fall off in his game, even though he's hit that 30-year-old mark. He is playing
Yeah.
like an all-time wide receiver, definitely one of the most underrated players in the entire NFL. I think he's going to make a huge difference wherever he goes. One dark horse team, I would say, to sign him would be the Chargers, because it seems
Mm.
like Keenan Allen is probably going to be leaving and going to another team this offseason. So if they want to replace, Keenan Allen with another experienced big play wide receiver, and Mike Evans, he wants to go somewhere a little warmer than Kansas City. You're looking at the Chargers with a guy like Justin Herbert, who's a generational quarterback and like a great new coach. That might also be a good fit. You can go line up opposite first round pick last year. Obviously, not the most successful guy, though, in Quentin Johnston. That would definitely be intriguing and a possibility. But I agree with you fully that I think the most likely possibility is he becomes a Kansas City Chief in search of a Super Bowl next year. For me, another one of the most intriguing off-season storylines, and I think this is one you'll find very interesting, is what's going to happen with Derrick Henry, because he is also in the same boat as Mike Evans, where he's like in his 30s now, but there really has not been a lot of drop off in his production. I'm sure you could attest he was absolutely a beast last year, even if he didn't light up the stat sheet necessarily as much as he used to. I think he is going to provide some team with another year or two of just absolute, like, dominance at the running back position. And I'm really hoping, my Cowboys might be an option. It's just a matter of it's a matter of how
Nope,
big the contract is going to be, because I don't think a lot of teams are going to want to spend big at the running back position this offseason. Because
you're
the
right.
last
Yeah,
time a team won the Super Bowl with like a large percentage of their cap dedicated to the running back was in the early 2000s. I forget which team it was, but that was the last time it happened. So I think teams are learning that spending money at running back is not a wise choice. So if Derrick Henry is willing to take a smaller contract to be with a contender like the Cowboys, like the Buffalo Bills, like the Baltimore Ravens, I think that will be really fun to follow and see what happens.
absolutely. Yeah, except none of that's going to happen because he's going to come back to Tennessee and he's going to play out the rest of his days and career with Will Levis as his quarterback. Um, No, but all jokes aside, I was certainly a little heartbroken when today at 3 p.m. there was no extension to his contract or a new contract written up for him. Now, granted, anything can still happen in regards to the Titans still re-sign him, bringing him back in. But it looks like he's going to be hitting the free agency market. And that being the case, I think that, you're correct in saying that, the running back position and the liability there and how much money are you willing to spend? I think those are all really good um, elements to consider when thinking about signing a guy like Derrick Henry. How much money is he going to be asking for? But I do think that he's going to be wanting to chase a ring. Um, and as much as I would love Tennessee to bring home the Lombardi Trophy next year, there still, I think, is going to be some growing pains in the process of rebuilding. And so really it's up to Derrick Henry whether or not he wants to stick it out in Tennessee and stick it out during this rebuilding process, or if he really wants to jump ship to really join a roster that's going to have the better likelihood of winning it this year. Um, and I think it's definitely going to be an interesting storyline to follow this season as well. Um, I really hope he comes back to Tennessee so we can get number 22 back on the field. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of contenders, and one that I'll say that I think may have even dropped off is the Eagles, because especially with the loss of Jason Kelsey, I think they have a lot more problems regarding their offensive production than to spend big money on a running back. I know recently, that's kind of the Eagles have been one of the bigger names for him to go to, along with the Ravens and then the Bills and then the Cowboys. But I don't know how likely it is that he's going to go to the Eagles now, just based on, losing Jason Kelsey. What does that mean for the tush push? How is Jalen Hurts going to continue to progress? Is it going to be a more run or pass oriented offense, this next season? I think a lot of those questions are really going to be um, I don't know if I should say I don't know if the Eagles are going to be big contenders in wanting to assign an older running back like Derrick Henry when they're still trying to figure out what they're going to be doing scheme wise moving forward. But definitely, it would definitely be interesting. Hopefully, he does not go to the Cowboys or the Bills or the Ravens. Actually, none of them. I don't want him to go to any of them. But I think he's going to do what he thinks is best. Um, I guess the only question is he going to be wanting to chase money more, or is he going to be want to be chasing a ring more? Because I think that's going to be the question he has to answer. Whether he wants to take a pay cut to go to a contender team, or if he is going to stick with a team that wants to pay him much more money. Thank you for joining us on the Redzone Rodeo podcast.
If you like football and you like having fun, come on down and subscribe and check out our channel for more videos like this one.
No ifs, ands, or buts. This is the best place for your football news.